This is the Bill Cartwright Show featuring Steve Cohen. Our special guest today is Mr. Bob Thornton. Bob Thornton is a longtime NBA player, coach, and great friend. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
I don't know if it's an honor, but we're just thrilled to have you here because it's interesting because your experience and your journey is really remarkable. I don't even think you're aware how remarkable it is to have traveled as much as you have and just to see what you've seen in all those kind of experiences. But I'm curious were you always a sports kid growing up?
I played every sport, whatever was in season, we always played. So, football season, football, baseball, the whole nine. But yeah, I love it. Can't get enough of it.
When did you know when you were going to just start? I mean, were you similar to me that you grew and then all of a sudden you were transformed to the gym? So when did you know you were going to be a basketball player?
Well, I think after my freshman year in high school, after football, I got cut from the freshman team. And I was like, that's never going to happen again. And so I started going up to the junior college and playing pickup with the college guys and the older men and just learning how to play. And it transformed my whole game.
So you went to UC Irvine. So how did that happen? How did that happen that you ended up there?
Well, I wanted to play for Bill Mulligan, who was at Saddleback Junior College. And my senior year, after the end of it, he took the Irvine job and left. So I was going to go to Saddleback. I had the grades to go anywhere I wanted, but I wanted to play, but I didn't have a scholarship. So went to Saddleback. They said, yeah, you can come here, no problem. You'll come off the bench. And I'm like, come off the bench? There's no way. I don't accept that. So I'm going to take that guy's job. And so about a month into the season, took his job, started, then got a scholarship offer from Coach Mulligan. His son was on our team at Saddleback, and he called his dad and he goes, look, you need to take a look at this kid. He can really play. So that's how it worked out.
So when you were at Irvine, did you guys have pretty good teams?
We did. We had my sophomore year, we had Kevin McGee, who was a first round pick and a big star overseas in Spain and Israel. He got drafted by the Suns, didn't work out over here, but he was a huge star overseas. We went to the NIT that year, lost to Oklahoma. We finished second or third in the league my last 2 years, and unfortunately didn't make the tournament, but we had a lot of pros ended up being and draft picks off those teams. So it was fun because basketball in Orange County back then was really good.
So going into your senior year, did you feel like you were going to be an NBA player?
I was wanting to be, but I think that there was one day we had a lot of scouts coming to see a couple guys that I played with, my teammates. And then the coach comes in to the gym and says, hey, call this number after practice. And so I did. It was a LA number, and they answered the phone, Fabulous Form. And on the paper, it said Jay West. So I'm not connecting this yet. And so I'm going, Fabulous Form. I go, Jerry West, please. This is Bob Thornton. And he goes, oh, yes, he's expecting your call. And I'm like, come on, this is stupid. There's no way. And so we had a nice conversation, and he said, look, you're going to get drafted, and we would like to get you if you're available. We think you could fit in with our team. And so that's when I guess I first had a sense of it. And then when New York selected me, had no idea. None.
So take us through that process. You go through the draft, And then what happens after that?
Well, I talked to Coach Brown and I talked to Dave DeBuscher, and they wanted me to come in for the summer, which I did. And then, rookie camp. And then I got hurt after the summer, right before vets camp. And so I didn't have a lot of confidence that I would make the roster that year. So I was just like, you know what, just go overseas, get some experience, come back and play next year. And so that's what I did. And then obviously made the team the next year. But it was, I should have tried to go to camp that first year. It would have been great, playing with all you guys. So, but it was surreal. I mean, it really was. I'll never forget when Hubie said I made the team in the team meeting. I about lost it. I couldn't believe it.
Well, I guess we should mention that I was there.
Yeah, you were right next to me. You were right next to me and saying that, because I looked at you and he's like, yeah. So it was, you did such a fabulous job, and I can't thank you enough about your mentoring me and just teaching me the way how to handle this league and everything else, playing with Pat and all the rest of the guys. It was awesome.
I was just going to say, what was the biggest adjustment you felt? The pace of play, the talent of the players,
the physicality,
the games, yeah,
just the physicality and adjusting to athleticism. That we never really played consistent competition like that had that kind of skill level. We played Pac-10 schools, but that was okay. Once in a while we played back east, but not a lot. But man, when I got to the NBA and everybody's jumping higher than me, and I'm like, holy cow, this is crazy. So you learn how to adjust, and back then we could be physical. So you just do what you got to do to get the job done.
So talk about some of the guys that were on the roster that you remember.
Oh, guys on the roster?
Yes.
Well, Darryl Walker was always awesome.
Yeah, quite the character.
Yeah, yes, he was. And always kept us smiling and just kind of like, hey, can't believe that just happened. And I'll never forget the first time I heard a player talk back to the coach and kind of cuss him out a little bit. And then I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen here? And just nothing happened. And I'm just like, this is insane. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. But we had a great group of guys. Pat Cummings was always a piece of work. He's a good dude. Trent Tucker, great player. James Bailey, all those guys. It's a good group, man. I learned a lot from them.
Yeah, we were definitely a spirited group, and also with our coaching staff with Hubie Brown, who's quite the character himself.
Yes.
I still remember us having some of the longest film sessions of my life, and longest huddles of my life with Hubie.
Well, I always liked his math. He'd call a quick 20 after a minute and a half in the game, and he'd look at the score. It's like 6-2, and he goes, "This is the 45-point quarter. Come on, what are you doing? You're a sieve. You're a sieve." And this man has helped me. When I got into coaching, I used to call Coach Brown and ask him questions about stuff that was going on with my team. Always took the time. He was the best, and I love him for it. He knows more about basketball. And back then, when we were flying commercial, nobody wanted to sit next to Coach. So I always, as the rookie, I always got to sit next to him. So we had great conversations. I learned more in that than I did on the floor. It was amazing.
Yeah, UB always had. I think the assistant at that time was Mike Fratello. Yeah, we had Richie Adebato.
Yeah.
So we always had really good coaches, I thought, around us at that point in time. So As you left the Knicks, you went to Philly. What was that
To
experience
Philly.
like?
Oh, it was incredible because I walked in and Mochik goes, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm the player to be named later." So, but it was cool because Matt Goose was a coach at that time. Charles was a character. We had Danny Brains, obviously Mo Cheeks. My locker was next to Andrew Toney, who was one of my favorite players of all time, and he was incredible. He was having foot problems back then, but boy, he's the best posted up guard I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, yeah. He was a really good player.
He was a
Wow.
beast.
Well, you guys had a great squad.
Yeah, we did. We had a good team. Well, unfortunately, just the injuries caught up with us, but we had some good years there. I was there, I think 4 years. We always ran into you guys in the playoffs, the first 3 championships. Geez, we played Cleveland 7 games, and then we come play you, and you guys just walk the floor with us.
Yeah, but we were lucky.
Unlucky. Yeah, you were lucky. I wish I could be that lucky.
Oh, I was just going to ask, tell us about some of the personalities on the Sixers. Everybody knows about Charles Barkley, but any stories about Charles you want to share?
I can't share them. I'd have no friends left. But he's one of the most lovable guys you ever want to meet. How you see him on TV, it's how he is in real life. I mean, he's a great guy and an incredible ball player. I mean, he was unbelievable, off the charts.
So as you left there, you went to Minnesota.
Yeah.
So who was coaching there?
Bill Musselman. So Bill Musselman, his son, Eric Tibbs was there as one of his assistants.
Wow.
So that was the second year of the team. So I got traded on the road from Cleveland, got on a plane, landed in Minneapolis, went straight to the gym in a blizzard because we had a game that night. So quite interesting.
So what was that like? How was who was some of the guys in the team?
Oh, we had Pooh Richardson, Tony Campbell, Randy Brewer, Sam Mitchell, a couple, Todd Murphy, who was a teammate of mine at Irvine, Scott Brooks, who also went to Irvine after I left, Gerald Green. We had it was a young group that was, we really played hard, and Muss's coach's style was, quite different than anything I've been used to, but he got us to show up every night. We just didn't have enough talent back then, but
Well, what was his style like?
he always wanted to exploit matchups, whatever a bad matchup was. And back then we always attacked and we isolated quite a bit, but he always tried to make teams do things that they really didn't want to do against a matchup they didn't expect. So one game we played LA, and we had Randy Brewer on Magic most of the time on switches, and he had a tough shooting that night, and we ended up winning the game. So he experimented with a lot of different stuff.
From there, when you left Minnesota, you went back overseas.
Yeah, I went to Italy for a couple years. That was an experience. It was, the basketball over there was good. But, it's a challenge to get all your money at times. But seeing Europe for the first time and living that lifestyle, I mean, it was fun. But I would have loved to have stayed here. I should have stayed here. I had the opportunity, and then just said no. Let's try and do something else.
So why'd you leave then?
To get more money.
More money, of course.
Yeah. But that's not always. And not knowing and being naive at times, it's not always the right decision because of what happens in your circumstance. But I would have loved to have stayed here. So
We'll talk about that. Now, where were you when you went to Italy for the first time?
the first time I was in Siena, which is in Tuscany. It's about an hour from Florence. A beautiful city.
Wow.
It used to be an old capital. So Siena and Florence had a battles to see who would be the capital city of that area back then. But it's gorgeous area. And then I was in Pavia, which is 40 minutes from Milan up north. And then 1 year I was in Rome.
So you had an opportunity to travel around Europe. So how long did you stay there until you came back?
You were there in August, and you'd get back in probably May if you were going deep in the playoffs. So about 8-9 months. It was a good amount of time. But I mean, great experience. I mean, it's incredible to see everything, the history and everything else. The hoops is good. Meet a lot of new friends. And the first team I was on, I didn't have another American. I played with Oscar Schmidt, the great shooter and scorer back then. So that was interesting. And, it's always hit or miss who your teammates are, but usually the Americans try to stick together, take care of each other, because win or lose, you get blamed for everything because you're getting the most money.
Well, yeah, it's more lose.
Yeah. There you go.
You lose, you're probably out.
Yeah. Well, I've seen several people show up for a week or 10 days and then, don't play well and boom, you're gone. You're on the next plane.
So who were some of the better players, both European and American, who were over there?
So Dino Raja was there when I was there. He was
Dino Raja.
Tony Kukoc was there.
Wow.
As a young player. You could tell he was going to be a superstar. Who else?
Well, let me ask you something else. Who were some of the better coaches that you liked over there? You thought were kind of innovative.
Most of the Yugoslavian coaches at that time were coaching in Italy, and they were unbelievable with the motion offenses. I mean, the team concept over there was taught so well. We always said that they're so far behind us. Well, they weren't really behind us. They were improving the team concept and the motion offenses. Where we played a lot of isolation, one-on-one, take advantage of the situation, attack the scheme. These guys are playing team ball, balls moving, and just playing out of cuts, basket cuts, ball movement, and great shooting. So it was fun to play over there because everybody got touches.
Yeah, so that was really foreign to being over playing the NBA, where it was so much isolation basketball. That's funny. So you came back and you played for the Rockers. Is that right? I did not know that.
I came back. I came back and played in the CBA. I played in the CBA twice. I played in Sioux Falls for a minute, and then got some 10 days, and then I came back and played in Chicago for the Rockers, and then got called up by the Bullets. So I was never there very long, but yeah, I'm going to do what I got to do, man. I'm a grinder. So if I got to prove myself, it's not the first time, so it's okay.
So let me ask you, when did you know you wanted to coach? When did that happen?
Oh, my parents were both teachers, and when I was doing camps and stuff during the summer when I was playing, I really loved it. I love working with the kids and teaching them and watching their reactions when they play well. So it was just a natural progression. it's funny because I got my pilot's license, my commercial license, right after I got done playing, because I thought I would be an airline pilot or fly in some capacity. But I kept getting coaching jobs, and the coaching jobs paid more than the flying jobs. So I just kept doing the coaching.
So what was your first coaching job?
First coaching job was volunteering at Chapman College, D3. Had a great time with one of my former assistant coaches from Irvine that took over that program. He's still coaching there. And I learned a lot, man. It's interesting how you have to learn how to break what you know down to these kids so they can understand it and relate to it. But it also makes you a better player. If I would have broken it down like that when I was playing to myself, I would have learned a lot more.
Yes. Yes. So you got the coaching bug, and then after that, you ended up at Cal State Fullerton.
Cal State Fullerton, was very lucky to get a job with them. We had one kid that was a supposed draft pick. It didn't work out for him. He had an injury, but the kids played hard, and I told the coach when he hired me, I said, the one thing I want the Irvine scout. So they were rivalries. And I said, I guarantee you we're going to bust them. And then I'm not going to lose that game.
So after that, you ended up in Yakima.
Yeah, that was a great experience. We had a team, and I knew Paul Wolpert, the head coach, who you know.
Yes, I do.
Phil is his father that coached at USF, Hall of Fame coach. And we got together and we drafted a team and we won the championship that year. We had David Vanderpool, Raja Bell, a lot of high-level CBA players that have been around a long time, Ivano Newbill, Silas Mills. We had a crew, and we put together a season that was unbelievable. It was so much fun. So I got a ring. I got a minor league ring, but it's a ring.
So what was the difference of being at Yakima and being at a D1 school? What did you learn?
Well, there's a reason why these kids are in the CBA, and usually playing ability is not the issue. It's usually off the court issues and just putting out fires and their behavior or what have you. But you learn a lot about how to communicate with these kids, how to keep them focused, how to put out fires, take care of your head coach. But it's just you and the head coach. There's, if you have a trainer in town that's full time, you're lucky. So it's just 12 guys, 10 players, 2 coaches, and it's a small family. So you're just grinding it out over 50, 60 games. And you really learn how to teach these kids, help them. Personal relationship development is huge. It's everything at that level. And the basketball is fast. It's a guard-driven league. So you have to really know how to coach because your roster can change on a daily basis. We can have guys called up. We always had 10 names in each position, a phone call away if our guys got called up. So it's a challenge, but it's a great experience.
Did you have a similar situation or similar teams when you were in Quad City and in Huntsville?
Yeah, I always tried to get very good shooting, solid point guards, that can score a little bit, because the bigs, if you had a dominant big, it was hard to get them touches because you're always sizing down. The other team would always go small. If you couldn't keep up, it was pointless. So you find yourself drafting a lot of athletes who can shoot and score, but all 6'7", 6'8", 6'6", 6'5", they all look the same. It's almost interchangeable. But I had Jamel Thomas. He was a great guard. Chris Garner in Quad City. And then, unfortunately, we didn't finish that season because of what happened with Isaiah Thomas and, the league folding. The league had been around for 62 years, and he had it, and it went bankrupt in a year and a half.
Yeah, that may be for another longer story about how that could possibly happen.
Yeah.
So you leave there, and you end up in Chicago.
That was awesome. Yeah, I mean, I owe you so much. It's not even funny because you gave me my first chance. You took a chance on me and haven't looked back since.
Well, I guess I should say I was the coach then for the brief stay I was there, but that was fun, wasn't it?
Oh, it was great. It was great. We had such a young team, and and working with those kids, and it was awesome. I loved every second of it.
Bill, I was going to ask you, what did you see in Bob that you went out on a limb for him to bring him on back to the Bulls?
Well, with Bob was easy because I had I played with him. I knew him really well, so we were of similar thought in how we were going to prepare. And as you see, Bob had worked his way up, which I'm a big believer in, and he was going to do things the right way. So. And, to be a basketball coach in the league, you've got to be a teacher of basketball, which is what Bob is. So he was perfect for that situation. It's unfortunate that our team was just too damn young, and then we got injured too. And it's just a very, very tough situation. But that kind of experience was invaluable.
I was going to ask, guys, we all know what makes good coaches, but what sometimes makes bad coaches? I mean, or ineffective coaches? Is it a lack of patience? Is it personal problems like that play players in the minor leagues? Bob and Bill, you want to speak to that?
There's always one thing I always ask of my coaches. I said, just be honest, tell the truth. I mean, if I ask a question, I won't get offended by the answers. Now some guys, I always told my players, I'm going to tell you the truth. Now, you might not want to hear it, but it's just my opinion. I don't know everything. But when you ask me, I will tell you. So be careful about the question you want to ask. It's up to you, because my job is to see you get to where you want to be. Like in the CBA, my job was to get those kids out of there and back to the next level or overseas where they're making money. I don't want to see you making $500 a week. That's not what we're here for. I want you out. I'm going to do everything in my power to make you a better player, to get you to the next level, because I've been there. I've done it. I've been in your shoes. There's not a level of basketball that I have not experienced that you haven't gone through. And I think that kind of relationship and that kind of honesty really, it's all about us connecting as people first, because I got to have your trust and you got to trust me to be able to help you improve. And that's hard sometimes because guys don't always do that.
So as you left Chicago, you went on to Minnesota. How did that happen?
I got a phone call actually, and Askley said, would you fly into Minneapolis to interview for Dwayne Casey? And I'm like, absolutely. Yeah, sure. I didn't know Dwayne. I knew of him, obviously. Went in there, had a great conversation, spent pretty much half the day with him. And after that, he offered me the job and, off and running. So, I mean, getting a chance to work with Kevin Garnett and some of those other players, they're amazing. You know, he's the type of guy that always restored your faith in players because his work ethic was second to none. He cared about his teammates. He communicated. He was a leader. You know, when you see that in action from a superstar, it makes my job as a coach so much easier because you get to police. Guys are policing themselves instead of always us jumping on them. So it was a blessing to work with him.
Awesome. So as you left there, you went to OKC.
Yeah, PJ called me and asked if I would do some advanced scouting for him, and I did. And then we ended up in OKC. So I was 4 years on the road doing scouting for them, and I'll tell you the best. Any young coaches that are listening to this or even had the opportunity to do advanced scouting, it will teach you the NBA like no other. You will learn every coach. You will learn players, your experience about knowing the league information-wise, player-wise, scheme-wise. It's invaluable. And it made me a better coach because no matter what team question the staff had, I could pull it right up or had it in the computer and we could talk it out because, you know, we know as bench coaches, it's so hard to keep up with the next scout. You're only watching maybe 2-3 games max before you're right. You know, you have to present it to the team. I'm seeing these guys 2, 3, 4 games out and I've seen them multiple times. So I get to help them do their job.
Right. So from there, you go to Memphis.
Yeah, that's a funny story. So, because I went to a basketball clinic that Dave Yeager was doing for some coaches in the area, and he asked me to come speak at it, and I did. And that year we beat Memphis. The year Memphis played San Antonio and surprised them, we ended up beating them in the next round. Because I scouted them for like a month straight. I was more worried about Memphis than I was San Antonio. And it turned out that they beat them. So I go down there, I speak. Lionel's there the whole time. And he calls me in his office. And we started talking hoops. And he goes, well, I'm looking for someone to work with our bigs. And I said, well, I don't know if you are open to it, but I'd love to talk to you about it. And he goes, and we did. And so after that, he offered me the job, and I said, Coach, you want to see your scouting report that I wrote on you guys? And he said, absolutely. So I gave it to him, and he's reading it. I go, please don't take anything personal because I got some of my opinions in there, and, you know, not necessarily what you're doing. It's just my opinion. And he's like, yes, no, you got that wrong. But it was awesome because I think he really got to know me in the depth that I did my work just by reading that scouting report because I had them down pretty good.
Do you remember some things in the scouting report that you had? Like, what are some things you saw that other people might not see from your month of doing it?
Well, one of the biggest things that I had, and I told our guys, is that, you know, you need to play Zach Randolph a certain way, and it's going to be out of the box, but he really struggles with this kind of pressure. You know, as soon as he starts to turn, you got to take his space and crowd him. You can't give him the opportunity to face up and get that little dribble or that step back. You know, you got to really, really take his space. And they listened to it, but he's a great player. But it was effective. But one of the biggest things I said, if Memphis ever committed to having Tony Allen as a starter, it would take their roster to a whole nother level. And that's when OJ was still starting for them. And then the next year they committed to Tony starting, and it changed their whole lineup. I mean, I always believe that because he was such an elite defender. It really gave them a chance to exploit passing lanes. Rudy Gay was long. You know, they had Darrell Arthur. They had Mark, obviously, Gasol. So they had a great team. They just needed a stopper.
Yeah. So from there, you went to the Kings, Sacramento Kings.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, after Lionel got fired, Dave took over, and I've been friends with Dave for a long time, and we all coached against each other and with each other in the CBA. We had a long relationship. CBA is kind of like a fraternity, you know, everybody goes through the grinder and hanging out and spending a lot of summers in Utah Summer League, just drawing plays on napkins and stuff like that. So Dave asked me to go with them. And of course I was going to go, and I get to go to your stomping grounds up in Sac.
That's where I grew up.
And we had a wonderful time with those kids. We had a nice young roster. We implemented at a very up-tempo pace, and we did some really good things with that team. You know, we won the most amount of games in 14 years, and unfortunately, we paid the price for it, and here we are.
Now, what do you make out of that? Because I felt that you guys did a great job, outstanding job, and still you were let go. And I think that for a lot of people, they don't understand that you could do a great job in the NBA, and your ownership says, "Hey, they did a great job." Your GM, "Hey, they did a great job," and you get fired. So how does that happen?
Well, I mean, that's the $64,000 question. I think if we all could answer that, you know, I would be the first one to be listening. But, you know, it's the nature of the business. It's just part of it, you know. And after the first time you get fired, you know, you learn kind of to just take the emotion out of it, because it's going to happen again. And I'm just like, okay, next, what's next? I mean, I can't dwell on this. I know we did a good job. The kids know we did a good job. What's next? Let's move forward in a positive way and keep doing what we're doing.
Let me ask you, you coached and played on a lot of teams.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, who do you feel was the most innovative? I'm not going to say best coach, but the most innovative coach that you ever have been around?
Well, I'll tell you, there's several guys that I really am amazed at their ability, how they coached. And Hubie was always one of them. His knowledge was just off the charts. I've never seen a coach in my life come up with 5 different out of bounds plays in a 20-second timeout. I mean, honestly, I was shocked. And then Jimmy Lynam, who I played for in Philadelphia, was one of the best communicators and motivators I've ever played for. He was just amazing. And he was just so down to earth and just being himself. And then I'll tell you what, one of the best young basketball minds right now is Dave Yeager. He is incredible at offense, adjustments on the fly. You know, he's a great defensive teacher. You know, he has the whole package. And when he gets another head coaching job, I guarantee you he will be successful, because he's got big time stuff. You know, Brad Stevens did a great job. Quinn Snyder does a great job. You know, but Dave is one of the best offensively and defensively that I've seen.
The last thing I want to ask you is that from all the guys that you played and coached with, who was your best leader?
Oh, that's a tough question there.
Yeah, I mean, you already talked a little bit about Kevin Garnett, but who was your best leader, and guys would follow?
When we played, you know, you follow the big dog, but sometimes those guys were just in it for themselves. But I mean, coaching wise, I was always impressed with Kevin Durant, what he did in Oak City, you know, how he was. I thought Mike Conley is one of the most underrated guards, leaders in our league. I tell you who's going to be a good leader as he gets older is De'Aaron Fox. His IQ is off the charts. He cares about his teammates and he wants them to be better. You know, it's hit or miss in my opinion. You know, if you have a voice, when we had young teams, it's always interesting to see how they come together and who they follow.
Yeah.
You know, it's you think you know, and it goes completely a different direction. I know there's always guys that are on the bench that either have experience or knowledge or just charisma, personality, but it's hard for everybody to follow them because they don't have the minutes to enforce it and back it up. And I think that's one of the problems with our league sometimes is that we don't listen to experience that has been there. You know, Vince Carter did an amazing job with our guys in Memphis, and he's one of my favorite people of all time. And our young guys would dismiss him sometimes. I said, do you understand that this is a Hall of Famer and he's done more that you can ever imagine? And he's trying to work with you and you're blowing him off. You know, if he did that to me, I would be living at his house 24/7. And it's unfortunate because I think these guys look back on it when they get older and said, yeah, I just should have listened back then.
Awesome. Well, Bob, thank you so much for sharing. I thought this was great.
I can't believe you got me to talk this much. It's just unbelievable.
Hey, look, to me, that you know, your experience and is invaluable to the people you've dealt with, to you've played with, you've coached, people you're able to touch, and I think that is very, very valuable. So just thank you so much for your time. Hopefully, after this pandemic and this mess goes on, we can get back together and hang around a little bit. You know.
Oh, no question. Look, and I love you to death. You've done so much for me. You know, your family, man. Anything for you.
Awesome. Well, Bob, thank you so much. I'm gonna look forward to it, man.
Me too.